authoring some of the arguments that they filed. He believed then and still believes now that the Honorable Atuforsen was the victim of a political witch hunt, and that Atuforsen had no case to answer in that trial. Now, if we say you have no case to answer, after the prosecution closes its case, okay, the defense can apply to court or file an application for submission of no case. Submission of no case essentially is to say that the prosecution has not been able to prove each and every element of the offense that they are talking about. Okay? That in the estimation of the defense, the prosecution has not been able to adduce enough evidence to support their claim. You understand? So essentially some of these things, remember the Chachuchikata case, a submission of no case was also applied. But the challenge here is that it is at the discretion of the judge to determine whether no case has been established or not. That is the problem. You see, the judge has the discretion to make that determination, but must make that determination in consonance with the arguments advanced either by both the prosecution and the defense. Bear in mind that the prosecution has a higher standard, and the higher standard is to prove each and every element of the charge beyond reasonable doubt. So when it is established that a prima facie case has been established against the accused persons, then the defense can now mount their defense. Okay? Now, if it is in the view of the defense that the prosecution has not been successful in proving each and every element of the offense, then, and there's no evidence so adduced in support of the claim of the prosecution, then application for submission of no case can be filed. I think your phone is distracting me. Now, so that is just by way of a little education. So, so he goes on to make the point that that position was vindicated by the erudite judgment of the Court of Appeal, which showed that the trial court erred in calling upon the accused persons to mount their defense, when the Attorney General vowed to file an appeal and actually went ahead to do so. Dominic Ayeni says he took the view that it was done to save face and that there was no scintilla of merit to his appeal. Indeed, the appeal was, to say the least, incompetent. So, essentially, the submission of no case application, in the view of the then counsel for the accused persons, right, was incompetent and did not merit the court's time. It was a bad case, you know, so to speak. And so they did not see the reason why the prosecution was still hell-bent on prosecuting these matters when it had not met the requisite standard, you know, of proving beyond reasonable doubt each and every element of the offense. My involvement in the case of the Republic of Ofusu-Ampofo and another is a matter of public record. At the initial stages of the trial, I was on record as counsel with the Venerable Tony Letha and my former boss, Marita Brew. It was our position as a team that the charges against the Honorable Ofusu-Ampofo were trumped up and motivated purely by politics, and he still stands by that view. Ethically, a prosecutor should and must have the courage of his convictions and must remain fearless to stand by those convictions, even in the face of a severe storm of public criticism. Strident criticism should not be reason why a self-respecting prosecutor must abandon his professional convictions in favor of political praise. So he's owning up to stand by the professional decision he took that in his current position as Attorney General, and the prosecutor for that matter, he was not going to suddenly recant his position and continue to prosecute the accused persons in these two cases. According to him, no new evidence has been presented to him upon assumption of office as Attorney General to cause him to abandon his professional convictions. Now, the question here is whether or not, in respect of this particular matter, where he was directly involved as the defense attorney and subsequently as Attorney General, that there's any conflict of interest here. Because he is saying that there's no new evidence which has been presented to him. But he is currently the Attorney General. So who should present him with the new evidence? Because if the Attorney General is prosecuting matters, it is the Attorney General's office that ought to fish out and sniff out evidence in support of its case. The argument has been advanced that because he held the view when he was at the opposing side that it was a matter that did not merit the court's time, now that he's been given an opportunity as the Attorney General, he wants to now carry on that position that he held into that office and to discontinue with these matters. These are arguments that are still unfolding. I don't know what your view will be in respect of this particular matter, the Ofosu Ampofo and Atufosin matter, that no new evidence has been presented to him. What is the work of the Attorney General? The Attorney General must investigate and prosecute. So, are they saying that they have done some investigations since he assumed office, and the conclusion is that he has not been presented with new facts or new evidence, and therefore he has elected to discontinue these matters? Well, these are questions that we must ask. And again, we need to further probe whether or not it's not advised to say that the second reason why he dropped the charges in some of the cases, as he stated above, is that the charges were defective. He is saying that some of the charges were defective and upon careful scrutiny were filed against the promptings of plain common sense. In the case of Republic versus Collins Dauda and others, for instance, the first accused was charged with misapplying public property in a sum of $200 million United States dollars. In laying the charges, the prosecution failed and or neglected to take account of the basic fact that it was part of the $200 million that was used to construct the houses at Saglemi. In other words, the value of that built environment is, in my considered opinion, a key determinant of how much of the total sum was allegedly misapplied by the Honorable Collins Dauda. Discounting the value of the built environment renders the charge defective. Now, the prosecution in the case also failed and or neglected to take account of payments that were made by other ministers who took office after the Honorable Collins Dauda. For instance, the Honorable Atachia, as Minister of Works and Housing, approved the payment to the tune of $5 million in 2017. That ought to have been considered in determining the value of the state funds that the Honorable Collins Dauda had misapplied. In criminal law, an accused is entitled to know with precision the crime that he has committed and the burden that he must discharge in order to prove his innocence. This is a basic criminal jurisprudence, and the charges in this case failed to meet the standard of precision required to put an accused person on notice of his criminal liability. So that is what the Attorney General said in respect of the matter relative to Ofosu Ampofo, Atufosin, and Collins Dauda. Now, he proceeds to say that the third reason why he dropped the charges in some of the cases was that the evidence adduced so far fell significantly short of what was required to convict the accused, and yet the state pressed on with the prosecution. He considers that to be a total waste of state resources. As noted by Puaman GSC in Afoko versus Attorney General, the prosecution may enter a null prosecution situations where, upon review of the proceedings, the Attorney General detects fatal flaws in the case, which may lead to acquittal of an accused person. In other words, null prosecution may be entered to avoid possible verdict against the prosecution. In his view of some of the cases, certainly reviewed fatal flaws in the case of the prosecution. A few examples are in order. In two of the banking trials still ongoing, I took the decision to withdraw the charges against Johnson Siama for the simple reason that in the course of my review of the cases, my attention was drawn to an internal memo prepared by the Prosecutions Division of the Department for the attention of the former Attorney General, which recommended that the charges against him be dropped. Note that Johnson Siama was charged with contravention of the Bank of Ghana Act for granting a facility of 300 million Ghana cedis to Universal Merchant Bank and for causing financial loss to the state. With the case of Johnson Siama, I tend to agree to a very large extent with the Attorney General. And so it is important that we cite reasons. And I think that for the purposes of onward education, let me continue with why, in respect of the Dr. Esiama matter, the Attorney General sought to withdraw the matter from court. And I tell you what, with this particular issue, I agree, because there are varied reasons why I tend to agree with this one. I will put my position forward, but let's finish with the Attorney General's position, and then we can have a broader discussion on it. Now, he continues to say that, note that Johnson Esiama was charged with, okay, now the internal memo concluded as follows. A study of the facts of the case indicates that the initial facility of 300 million has been recovered, okay? 300 million has been recovered. Now, also, leaving 150 million Ghana cedis outstanding. The office has confirmed that the Bank of Ghana, through Mr. Alexander Tarr, that is PW2, is the prosecution witness 2, okay, that the interest from the outstanding amount is presently being serviced by Universal Merchant Bank. Now, Mr. Tarr also indicated that Universal Merchant Bank, UMB, has an amount of 150 million Ghana cedis locked up with the CBG, Consolidated Bank of Ghana. It is expected that when the sum is released to UMB, the loan amount for which the accused person 3, which is Mr. Dr. Johnson Esiama, was charged with causing financial loss, will be repaid to the Bank of Ghana. This, therefore, may render the charges preferred against Dr. Esiama moot, leading to his discharge. Obviously, former Attorney General failed to act on these recommendations, which were made to him by the Prosecutions Division. If he disagreed with the recommendations, I'm unable to say but agree with them. Based on these recommendations, I dropped the charges against Dr. Esiama, okay, Dr. Esiama, okay, in both the Unibank and UT Bank cases. In coming to this decision, he is fortified by the rule 42A, the legal profession and professional conduct and etiquette rules of 2020, and LI 2423, which provides that in a criminal case, a prosecutor shall refrain from prosecuting a charge that the prosecutor knows is not supported by the fact. But note that I have not yet dropped the charges against the remaining accused persons, because I am currently in discussions with the receivers in order to understand the financial implications of any decision I may take in these matters. So clearly, the reasons assigned in respect of the Dr. Esiama's case, for me, solid. Reasons assigned for Atuforsen and Ofusu-Ampofo, I have stated here and now that on the basis of the fact that he himself, as the Attorney General, when he was on the opposing side, okay, intimates that he believed and still believes that the prosecution did not have a case, right, is the reason why he has dropped the charges. Now he's at a privileged position of the Attorney General. He claims that there is no new evidence, okay? Now, if there's no new evidence, what is the office supposed to do? If the office believes genuinely that these persons must be brought before a competent court of jurisdiction, which they were brought before, and matters ought to be dealt with dispassionately, then, in my respectful opinion, the Attorney General is duty-bound per the Constitution, Article 88(3), which gives him the opportunity to investigate and prosecute matters, should have done further work in adducing evidence in support of the prosecution's case. So why drop the charges now? So as for Atuforsen and Ofusu-Ampofo, I respectfully disagree. But Dr. Esiama, I agree, because the facts speaks for themselves. The facts speaks for itself. Now, in the case of Dr. Esiama, it is important that we draw some parallel analysis, right? Now, there are cases which supports the position that the Attorney General has taken. That there's a case called Kukarich versus Bank Paribas, you know, where the court determined that official decisions made by senior management of an institution cannot be attributed solely to an individual senior manager. In this case, a senior manager at Bank Paribas was sued for fraud and misconduct in connection with investment decisions made by the bank. The court found that the decisions were made collectively by senior management and were not the sole responsibility of the individual senior manager. The court held that senior managers act as agents of the institution and are bound by decisions made by the collective body of senior management. As a result, the individual senior manager was not held personally liable for the alleged misconduct. There are other cases. In 1963, the United States Supreme Court versus Aluminum Company of America, in that case, we also ruled that decisions made by senior management of a company should be considered collective actions of the corporation as a whole, rather than the sole responsibility of an individual. There are multiplicity of cases in support of the decision that was taken by the Attorney General in relation to a decision that was taken by a deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana for the purposes of advancing facilities, to indigenous banks that were closing. And they had monies in other facilities which could have been used as collateral in the event that they defaulted in the payment of those monies. So with that being said, for that particular matter, I tend to agree with the Attorney General. Let me not talk too much. I started talking plenty because my panelists were not here. I have my two doctors here seated. I have Prince Derek J seated. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I trust you are well.
Yeah, doing well.
Today you didn't bring your spiritual hat.
It's actually in the car.
Oh, you forgot. No. We can't forget.
I was running out of time.
Yes. You people delayed me, pa. Please, going forward.
We are sorry.
Going forward, the time is 8 o'clock.
We are sorry.
Let's start the show at 8, especially Prince Derek J. I don't know whether he was chasing the La Lance. That's why he did.
Well, I got a call from your producers to say I was uncharacteristically late today, which means I'm always early. I am always ahead of you.
But the point is also that this is the first time I'm hosting you in 2020.
Your Excellency, Your Excellency.
And so this is the first time I'm encountering you.
Okay.
So I can conclude safely that you are late.
But
no. Let's not be right.
On this occasion, I concede.
For the first time, Prince Derek has conceded. Yeah.
There are some little things that I think need to be changed, though.
Right.
Near intersections, the road is rough. Actually, if you take the Kanishi Highway,
right,
most of the intersections that join onto the main highway, they are very bad, so they cause a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And then the stretch in front of Kolebu from the post office, the Mamprobi post office, to the Mortuary Road intersection, it needs to be asphalted. So, Kwame Abuja.
I hope he's listening.
Oh, he sure will be.
Abuja, how many times did I call you? Do the needful.
Yes.
Even in my area, you know what the people did? The new DVLA.
Yes.
In
Hacho, yes.
That road is asphalted, is proper. But the interlinkages,
yes,
they are all bad.
Yes.
They are all bad.
So it piles up all the way. Yeah,
so there's a lot of traffic there. By this time, I'm sure people are struggling to. Yeah. Anyway, Dame slams government over mass withdrawal of cases. Minority condemns job termination, but majority leader says government stands by decision. Jenapor sets up committee to probe procurements under Akufo-Addo. These are the topics that we've tabled for our conversation. Let me remind viewers that I'll be very glad indeed that you share your views with me. As I've always stated, that we are not the sole repositories of knowledge. You may have very important and valid opinions that you may want to share with us so that we can all collectively shape our democracy. Again, it is instructive to point out that if you look at the approval rate of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, then it leaves very little doubt in my mind that all of us as Ghanaians want this government to succeed. Because if the government succeeds, Kwame Usudanso, I'll be paid, and I'll be able to also offer support to the people who are on the streets, to the people who are struggling to find money to pay their school fees, to the people who need only 200 Ghana cedis to go and start Kusuane Mako business, so that we can all help shape and build Ghana together. Having said that, and I took time in your absence to try and read some portions of the press conference which was held by the current Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, in relation to the withdrawals. Now, withdrawals are not new to our laws. In fact, the Attorney General reserves that right to file either a nolle prosequi in relation to matters or withdraw the matter from court. He has that discretion to exercise. he is not obligated, and I think that it's important to stress this fact. He's not obligated to assign reasons. In the view of the Attorney General, if he believes that the matter is a bad case, that the matter is a wastage, that the prosecution does not have enough evidence or has been unable to prove each and every element of the offense, or is unable to gather evidence in support of his allegation, the Attorney General reserves that right to withdraw matters. Or that when they proceed with the matter, the prosecution will lose anyway. So why should they proceed with the matter and cause financial loss to the state? So, there are reasons for withdrawals or withdrawing and discontinuing with cases. What's his name? Dame, former Attorney General, says, no, Massa, you should not have withdrawn the cases. Why should you withdraw the cases? Because if you wanted to prosecute the matters, you could have prosecuted the matters. Let me start with you. Doc, since you seem to disagree and agree with some of the positions of, either the current Attorney General or the former Attorney General. So let me start with you, Dr. Mazuka.
Good morning.
Dr. I'll come to you.
Why don't you start with Doctor?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Because Doctor has been here for some time. Yeah.
In fact, you came before them. So I think, yes. Please, let me start with you.
I think because of his agreement and disagreement, it's right for him to.
Maybe we'll learn from you.
Your agreement,
Proceed.
Well, good morning once again to our cherished viewers.
Yeah.
And good morning once again to you, senior man. I think this is the second time you are hosting me here, and I'm very, very grateful to that. This withdrawal of cases, I think the matter started somewhere last week, if I'm not mistaken. And like you rightly said, the Attorney General, doesn't owe anybody explanations as to why he's filing a nolle prosequi or withdrawing cases. But we have all been in this country for the past 8 years. And we know that some of the cases are mere political persecution because of the fact that some of the victims were found to be very vocal in terms of exposing the government of some of the rot in the system. And I think the example I can give is the Honorable Atuforson's case. He being the ranking member or something like that for finance at the in the Parliament House. And his knowledge or institutional memory when it comes to he being the then former Deputy Minister for Finance, he had, much knowledge when it comes to the finances and the public financial management of the country. And like a prophet, most of the things that he professed at that time actually came to pass. He was exposing the government so much such that it's like the government felt like, let us find something to silence him. And so that case was actually, triggered against him. Along the line, and I think the current government should actually try to reset the judiciary system, the judicial system, because the very first time growing up I have ever seen an Attorney General trying to connive with another party within the case just to falsify some sort of evidence against Honorable Atuforson. So for me, everybody, even the common man on the street, knew very well that that case is actually a no case or a non-starter case in the first place. For the optics, some people think that, well, even though we know and we perceive that that case is actually mere persecution, however, why didn't you allow the court system to go on for the court to decide that? That is okay. But the point is, must we waste our time and resources for a non-starter case? That is my point. For everything, we also have to look at the economic side of it. And the economic side, I mean time resources, you know, for the Attorney General and the entire state. And then the financial, loss of financial resources for pursuing a case that has actually gotten any no merit.
Deficient.
You understand?
Defective.
Or defective. So in this regard, I feel like it ought to be, you know, struck out rather than wasting much time. I don't know much about the Honorable Fuso Ampofo's case. In terms of the current governor of Bank of Ghana, I mean, everybody knows that. I followed it a bit because of the economic aspect of the case. This is a situation we're having serious crisis in our, you know, financial sector or banking sector. And the Bank of Ghana, through the board, not him unilaterally taking that decision, but through the board, felt that they need to give them a hand-holding support to be able to be on their feet, such that the impact of the collapse of the banks will not be felt. Because we also, when there was this so-called quote-unquote cleanup, we saw the number of job losses and the snowballing effect in terms of economic effect on families, you know, and the general population of this particular country. And so the board, in its wisdom, decided that, okay, let us give them a hand-holding support. And to securitize that particular loan or support, they actually, you know, secured, for want of a better word, a very significant collateral to protect that particular investment that they wanted to inject into the banks. So I feel like it was a right call to do that. Now the Akufo-Addo government comes in and makes it look like it was his unilateral decision to do that, and therefore he has caused financial loss to the state.
Yeah.
That is also a clear persecution, political persecution.
Absolutely.
You understand? And so again, I hold the view that yes, people who are saying that the Attorney General should have allowed the case to proceed for the court to declare what he's done, I agree. But the point is that we also have to look at the economic losses of it. And so I agree. Dr. Opuni's case, we had scientists coming to testify. We had farmers coming to testify that the fertilizer he brought was actually a good one. And some of the farmers, if I recall very well, even on the floor of the court, alluded that in the year that they applied that particular fertilizer, they had a higher significant increase in their harvest. Again, political persecution. We went back and forth for 8 good years. Let us sit down and then do that economic assessment of pursuing a case that had no merit for 8 years. If the Attorney General is going to court, Ghanaians will pay. The taxpayer has to pay. The judges and all the logistics that are being used or that were being used to pursue the cases, we incurred costs. And so I feel like we don't need to waste our time on something like that. People may think, well, they are NDC people, and so because he's an NDC, you know, a kind of government appointee, he is there to do the bid. That is a non-starter. For 8 years, if these cases were to have merit, we would have seen the light of the day, as far as the cases are concerned. And so for me, hold no grudge, you know, to he actually terminating the cases. And I feel like, though I'm not a lawyer, but the process he uses is the best one, because if he were to fire an only prosecutor, what will happen is that in future another government will come and they will go and then re-trigger the case, and then we come back to the cycle of this political persecution, which results in, you know, a cyclical loss of economic kind of resources. So that is my take on this particular matter.
No, so let's look at the response from. So you have now found a way of marrying the response from Godfred Dame and the position of the Attorney General. Okay. So you think that in all the cases, are you referring to all the cases? Because I believe that in some of the cases, especially the ones in which the current Attorney General was the defense attorney, I sought to ask this question the last time on, I think last week Thursday. I was met with brute resistance, but I still hold a view that if you were the defense attorney in a matter and you have become the attorney general, I believe, I don't know, but I think that there will be conflict of interest.
If I may come in,
you know,
I am not trying to allude that all the cases that he struck out had that merit in terms of the approach.
No, I'm not saying you are doing that. I'm just simply asking
that's okay.
the question.
That's okay.
Whether or not in that particular case.
And so being cautious, I specifically mentioned one or two cases I felt like they were actually a non-starter case.
Yeah.
Now, the last point you raised about he being, a defense lawyer at that time, if I heard the Attorney General very well, and subsequent interviews that I think he has granted, I think on Joy News or something like that, he made it categorically clear that he wasn't a defense lawyer, even though as a party member belonging to the party, legal counsel. That is what I heard. I'm coming. That's what I heard.
No, but what you heard must be corrected.
That's okay.
I'm not sure that is what you heard.
Okay, go ahead.
Because what you heard could not be different from what his position is. In fact,
okay,
he refers to, there's now to my first substantive reason for dropping. He says, I was involved in reviewing legal arguments and in some instances authorizing some of the arguments before. Okay, so this is the Atufosin matter, but there's a particular, I think the Opuni matter. He mentioned that, I'll look for it, but
okay,
proceed.
That is fine. So maybe, the review here doesn't imply that he was part of the defense, kind of legal team.
No, I'm saying that I'll find it, but
that's
I'm not
okay.
saying,
You find that.
He was,
yes, but here we are dealing with so many cases. So maybe the part I heard was in line with what you just read. Yeah. You understand? He alluded to the fact that though he provided some sort of, reviewer kind of assistance, but he was not directly involved in the case. And so I feel like, in this instance, there is no conflict of interest at all for the decision that he has taken.
But if somebody says, this is because I was deeply involved as a counsel in these two cases, what do you mean? How do you understand it?
Which of the cases? Like I said, we have several cases.
Now to my first substantive reason for dropping charges in some of the cases. As noted above, for purely ethical and professional reasons, I could not in good conscience continue to exercise my prosecutorial authority and Article 88(3) in some of the cases. These cases were Republic versus Atufosin and another, and Republic versus Ofosu Ampofo and another. This is because I was deeply involved as counsel in these two cases. In the case of the Republic versus Atufosin, I was not counsel on record. But my junior partner, Godwin Kujo Tamaklu, was. As a team, we discussed our case strategy in chambers, and I was involved in reviewing legal arguments, and in some instances, authorizing some of the arguments that were found. I believed then, and still believe now, that the Honorable Atufosin was the victim of a political witch hunt, and that he had no case to answer in the trial. That position was vindicated by the erudite judgment of the Court of Appeal, which ruled that the trial court erred in calling upon the accused persons to mount their defense. When the Attorney General vowed to file an appeal and actually went ahead to do so, I took the view that it was done to save face and that there was no scintilla of merit to his appeal. Indeed, the appeal was, to say the least, incompetent. This I can't agree because, a Court of Appeal had overturned that of the trial judge's ruling in respect of the submission of no case to answer. I don't have a problem. My involvement in the case of Republic versus Atufosin and another is a matter of public record. At the initial stage of the trial, I was on record as counsel
for Atufosin
with the Republic versus Ofosu Ampofo and another.
Okay.
He, in the first part of the press conference, makes reference to two cases. The first case is the Atufosin one. Then the second case is the Ofosu Ampofo one. Wherefore, in the Atufosin one, he says that even though he was not the one going to court, his junior was, he was directly involved in some of the arguments which were even, advanced in court. The second one, he admits that he's on record, it's public record, that he was the counsel.
Okay. So, Chairman, let me come in before my colleagues will come.
All right.
The first one that he said he supported in reviewing evidence, or the case. let's take it in terms of authorship, and my colleague Doc is here. If you produce an article, and the article, the three of you are authors for the article, and you give it to me to review, it doesn't make me an author. I'm coming. You let me land.
Proceed.
It doesn't make me an author, even though I have played a role in fine-tuning the content of the of the authorship, or sorry, of the publication or the article. But it doesn't make me, an author.
Yes.
That is number one.
Okay.
Number two.
Even among the artists, it must be a lead author.
Exactly.
Proceed. Number two.
Now.
Number two.
Yes. The second one here is that. For Ofosu Ampofo's case.
No, let's stay on the first part because you see, the exclusion of the Attorney General from the matter is what I find troubling, because you see, we cannot conclude that he was not directly involved in it. The fact that, and it's in two parts, that's why I didn't want to interject. I wanted you to finish the first part, because the first part says that I was deeply involved as counsel in these two cases. He did not say I was deeply involved as counsel in one of the cases. He said in these two cases. Being deeply involved as counsel connotes that he was an active participant of the counsels or the case. He was actively involved in it. Now he proceeds to say that in the case of Atufosin, I was not counsel of record. My junior partner Gordon Kamaklo was. As a team, we discussed our case strategy in chambers, and I was involved in reviewing legal arguments and conjunction. Some instances altering some of the arguments that were filed. So that is why I wanted us to take it one after the other. No, please. I'm asking questions. Please proceed.
Look, I still stand by my point.
All right,
Look,
your point has been well made there.
Yes.
Let me move to
go ahead.
Dr. Malu.
I still stand by my point. There's no need argument. For me, there's no conflict of interest.
So I'm surprised they're even having this argument. There's no conflict. Gentleman, was it the Attorney General who let Aisha Wango?
That one, these are matters we can go into.
Yes.
No, is it when I get to you,
is it the very same one?
When I get to you, but go on.
Good morning to the church viewers as well as thanks for the opportunity. Special good morning to my colleague Doc and my prince. And Your Excellency.
Before you start.
Yes.
Okay, let me just read something. The lawyer now appointed, that's conflict of interest. The lawyer now appointed as Attorney General has a personal connection to the case, having previously represented the defendant. This creates a conflict between their professional obligations as Attorney General and their prior loyalty to the defendant. Proceed.
Yes.
Oh,
when you know your bride. No. I just want to place on record since he's read something.
you seek permission from
you can
seek permission from
I'm seeking permission from
exactly.
Now you can't defend a criminal.
Of course you can.
Are you therefore in alignment with the crime committed by that criminal? Do you have any allegiance to that criminal?
No. You see.
No.
What
direct answer. No, just a direct answer.
No. If you are a counsel representing a client,
yes.
Unless the client says that he does not want to work with you, you have to work.
The state can appoint a counsel for
absolutely, but they didn't. In this instance, they appointed their own counsel.
I'm just giving you instances. As a lawyer, you can either on your own represent a client.
You cannot represent a client without a client's authorization.
No, with authorization of the client. I'm saying that that's one. That's you taking on a client.
Yes.
The state also can appoint. Exactly.
Yes.
Now I'm saying that in both instances, do you owe any allegiance to the criminal?
No, you don't.
Or the crime committed?
No, you don't.
You are professional. So is the Attorney General as a lawyer. Now, you see, during his vetting, a lot of these things were stage managed by the NPP who were on the panel. So let us not play to their mischief. I think that we spent much of this morning. Yes.
I will let you hold your view for now, and you express same when I come to you. But let me come to Dr. Mazouk. Dr. Mazouk, this will be an interesting conversation.
Sure, because he's my prince. He always does that to me.
He tried to bully you.
And he knows I'm a lover of African culture.
Proceed.
Yeah, so I give him that leverage. All right. So, but before I proceed, let me appeal to the NDC social media langars to spare us the insults.
Why they're insulting you?
No, they insult you too.
Oh, really?
The moment you insult you, social media langars. the rented and renting gang. They should spare us. We are begging them. NDC is run by human beings, not angels. It is bound to make mistakes, and when it does, it is our responsibility to point the mistakes. Yes, and if we strongly still believe that John Mahama has the capacity to reset this country. I strongly believe personally, but I believe that so far, so good. But definitely, there will be potholes as we ply the route of governance. So when we figure out these potholes, please don't descend on us. But you can go ahead. That is your. You can disagree with us, right? So please, we'll continue. You know, from context to context, just as you have rightly mentioned, from context to context, I disagree with both attorneys general. Let me start with Dami. We were here, Prince, you and I, we were here, and we rose in defense of Atuforsin and others. When Dami tried to use the prosecutorial jurisdiction of the Attorney General to persecute rather than prosecute Atuforsin and the rest, we told him that it was a complete case of political vendetta. We made him understand, especially when he was exposed, trying to do everything possible outside the domain of the law to secure conviction. We made it possible, we made it known to him that no court, any rational court will accept his position. At the end of the day, we were vindicated. At least the Court of Appeal accepted our position. We are not lawyers, but we also understand how law works.
Absolutely.
And law is not meant, let the lawyers understand that law is not meant for only lawyers. Law is meant for everybody. One is a practitioner, another should comply.
Right.
And without even the other, who is not a practitioner, the practitioner may not get anywhere. So we are not lawyers, but we can also speak, we can also have our opinions on matters of law. So at the end of the day, a court of competent jurisdiction agreed with us. Yet, he was bent on securing a conviction. And you know, there's a thin line between persecution and prosecution. And that thin line is patriotism. The moment you position yourself as the chief legal propagandist of the state, then you become the Attorney General of persecution. But if you want to dispense justice, to help the judiciary to dispense justice in your capacity as the Attorney General of the people, not of the party, then yours is prosecution, not persecution. So over the bar, he was wrong, and we disagree with him. With the same conviction, I still disagree with the current Attorney General for the mass withdrawal. The mass withdrawal, that's my problem.
The congestion of the courts.
Now this is the congestion of prosecution of cases. You understand that? So you agree with me that we are dealing with not only the content of the law, but the context. The context in relation to the political environment.
Yeah.
You have a legal maxim that justice should be done. No, justice should not only be done, but should be seen to be done. And in line with this legal maxim, definitely, many people will think that an environment of political loyalty over legal accountability has been created.
You know, the maxim even goes beyond that.
Exactly.
It should be manifestly and undoubtedly seen to be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
The current Attorney General has created a very, very, very uncomfortable situation for the government, a situation that depicts a picture of partisan loyalty over legal accountability. And that is a source of worry to me.
Right.
Look, let me use this example. I was the youngest reporter, and I was reporting from court. And that's why I loved it. I don't understand why I'm not even a lawyer, because most of the lawyers were advising me to go and read law because of the way they trusted me. Those were the glorious days of free press. And we were the first newspaper to be cited for criminal contempt. So criminal contempt and criminal libel.
Right.
At the time, the former president Akufo-Addo was the defense counsel. Yeah, he was the defense attorney. He was the lead. And Akotso-Ampao was part of the team.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
So when President Kufuor came to power, defense counsel automatically becomes the Attorney General.
Yeah.
Before then, Nana Akufo-Addo was so much politically engaged that he didn't have time to come to court. So the prosecution, the defense was led by the late Akotso-Ampao.
Yeah.
And those were the glorious days of legal practice, when Akotso-Ampao and Martin Amidu could lock horns in court. Because then Martin Amidu was the deputy attorney general, and he led in all the cases he led the prosecution. Obeda Samoa, as the Attorney General, never appeared in court. Tell everybody, and I'm saying that. I lived it. I'm not reading it. I lived it. Obeda Samoa, as the Attorney General, throughout the regime, never appeared in court. The prosecution was mail-handled by Martin Amidu. When Nana Akufo-Addo became the Attorney General, he filed the nolli proscrire. He withdrew he discontinued the case. Whether by nolli proscrire or by withdrawal or whatever means, according to your legal jargon, I do not know. I cannot tell. But the case was terminated. Akotso-Ampao wasn't happy. He still wanted the case to be prosecuted so that he could see the defects of the prosecution. That was Akotso-Ampao's avowed loyalty to legality over politics. Akotso-Ampao was of the argument that he still wanted the court, the culture of law should prevail. The court should pronounce a judgment. He wasn't happy. You understand that? So when some of us speak on these matters, we are guided by experience. We are guided by history. You understand that? Now, I am one of the champions of oral. And I've sat here, even when people mount the argument of vindictiveness and witch hunting, we counter by saying that witch hunting is operationally and contextually justifiable. Because if you allow the witches, then you should allow the hunting. Yes! If you enjoy the comfort of the witches, you must as well bear the discomfort of hunting them. So definitely, I cannot endorse oral and turn around to be a proponent of oral, because now it has become a matter between oral, Operation Retrieve All the Loot, or oral, Operation Clear All. I will not, because that will be an injury to my principle of consistency. I cannot support oral and go and then go for oral. Not at all, because the two are poles apart. And I'm still a proponent of oral. If you believe that they have no case, you as the Attorney General, and Doc, I understand your position very well, because you are concerned about the economic development of this country, about the economic. But Doc, please let me disagree with you. You know, we have chosen to be governed by law. So we should spend everything in the effort of building the culture of law. Let us not do anything that will relegate law to the background and promote politics. We have created the impression that, oh, you can commit a crime. Just wait. You may use legal gymnastics to delay the prosecution. And when your party comes to power, you'll be set free. That is very wrong. That is a serious injury to our democratic journey. That is not good for the Republic of Ghana. I strongly believe that the Attorney General still has the prosecutorial jurisdiction. And let me come to your point. You are a lawyer, and I'm happy you have you have explained it. Yes, it is true. When we say the Attorney General, we disagree with the Attorney General. The argument is not that we do not know that the Attorney General does not have, he doesn't have any burden to explain to anybody. We know. And we also know that not everything legal is good. Things that are legal, there are things that are legal but are not good. The Preventive Detention Act was legal. It wasn't good. We sat down here for so many bad policies of the past regime to become laws. They were laws, but they were bad to this country. And my argument is that that legal principle is part of the colonial legacy that we have bequeathed from bequeathed to us by the colonial regime. I strongly believe that we should look at it from another angle. The Attorney General cannot be a law unto himself or herself. Attorney General should use his powers to prosecute in the supreme interest of the nation. Now, you are telling me that in all the cases, there's no evidence. And the reasoning members of the public are telling you that it is not that there's no evidence. If you want to establish that there's no evidence, let the court pronounce that. It will even be simpler for you. You can mount a strong case. You are now the Attorney General. You can mount. You go there, and then let the court pronounce. So in the eyes of the ordinary person, there's no evidence because those people are party loyalists, and we cannot allow partisanship to overrule law.
Thank you.
So on this basis, I am of the view that the Attorney General should review the cases.
All of them?
Well, I am of the view that the Attorney General should
in some
review
of the cases, you see, if it is very apparent, with the greatest respect, to you. If it
I
is
haven't finished. I haven't finished.
Proceed.
I'm saying he should review all the cases.
Conclude for me, yeah.
Attorney General should review all the cases. At the end of the day, if those that he thinks can still be subject to prosecution, for the law to pronounce, for the court to pronounce judgment on them, I think that will diffuse that atmosphere of partisanship over law.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the Attorney General cannot do that because right now they've been acquitted and discharged. And double jeopardy is also against the law. Yeah, he should have that. Okay, I agree with you on that.
He should have done.
Chris.
So I disagree with him.
Well, let me start on let me start on your point of double jeopardy, and one case we should be looking forward to also being cleared quickly. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is not even double.
As for that case, it's quadruple. Gregory.
And that was under which Attorney General?
Godfrey Dame.
Thank you very much. So,
no, not
he will clear it, and he has to. And you see,
definitely because that guy is not a party man.
No, it's not. No.
It's simple.
No. Let me be very clear. This string of removing the clog in the court system and clearing the desk of the new Attorney General is not being done on partisan basis. And
it is seen to be done on partisan basis.
What you choose to see is based on which direction you look, and sometimes your mindset.
I won't disturb you.
Sometimes you can be looking at something, but you're not seeing because your mind is not there. So yes, very well. Now, I'll even proceed to give you instances when you want to look at the issue of conflict of interest and so on. Better conflict of interest situations arise from, and I'll give you two examples, one perhaps NPP and one NDC, so you can get it. Starting with the Japa one, the raid on Ken Ofriata's residence. Initially people thought it was the OSP. Yes, and he denied it. It's come out that Japa led a team. Japa is now with National Security. He may have been instructed to, because he's not the head of National Security, he may have been instructed to carry out some raids on various locations. And you remember very recently, there was the issue of the counterfeit money, the real dollars and CD notes and gold. He led that, raid. Was he doing his work? Is Dakpa being effective? If he's been able to, in one raid, get 12 containers full, well, not necessarily full, but with boxes of money, gold, counterfeits, and so on. That's positive. Now, if he goes on another raid, and you will not know what reasons underpin a national security operation, unless you are asking the national security to also come and explain every single action that they take, then that is fine. Otherwise, let's leave the Jakpa raid even on the, Ken Ofori-Atta's residence. In any case, who is Ken? Didn't President Akufo-Addo have attorney generals and wearing Ghanaians here when Professor Mills's house was raided?
Condemned it.
No, I'm not talking about condemnation. I'm talking about the raid.
Yes,
No, don't worry about condemnation. I'm talking about raids. Almost every key person in the current government has had his or her house raided. It's just that people have not come out to talk. You've seen the John Jinapo's own. You've seen many, with traumatized kids and so on. So let us not make a fetish of Ken Ofori-Atta as though he's an angel or some body who is above everyone else. When he was supposed to be vetted, you remember he feigned illness and ran away to hide, and then he came when it was convenient for him. When he was supposed to be removed, well, I won't say removed, but the minority now, then majority, almost all of them, first it was about 88 or so of them who said Ken must go, in addition to the entire NDC majority.
Even the rest didn't want it, but they were afraid.
But in the end, the majority leader at the time, Chairman Sambosu, came and told all Ghanaians that they had now all agreed that he should go. They went and met the president. Then subsequently, some businessman who up to today has not been named came to bribe the majority, that's the MPP, and then suddenly the matter died. They were no longer interested. Up to today, they and their pro-MPP media houses, the CSOs, their surrogates, have not been interested in finding out who that businessman is. Is it because it was Ken Ofori-Atta, the untouchable? Or what? In any case, that is one. Now, to the surrogates. Is it not too long ago that we heard that some CSOs were going on strike, nationwide strike, because of Galamsey?
Yes.
You recall, the Labour Front, in unity, decided to go on a demonstration so that we can have clean water, so we can have forests that are not being destroyed, that we can have our rivers back and so on, that we don't have deformed children and so on. The Nurses and Midwifery Council, or association, Nurses and Midwives Association, it was led by, it's still led by the same person, Mrs. Perpetual?
Yeah, something.
Ofori Ampof. She left the Labour, fronts, quest to go on a nationwide strike, because he said they were what? An essential service. Today, they are no longer an essential service. She is threatening to go on strike.
Because of appointment.
Not because of appointment. Because in her mind, and that's why I say sometimes you can look, but you're not seeing right. She claims that the government is threatening to sack nurses. The government has not said it's sacking nurses. Nurses have been given financial clearance as far back as before December 7th. I don't know of any nurse who has been given financial clearance after December 7th. In any case, the nation needs more nurses. The policy of this government is to train more nurses, is to even look at the possibility of exporting nurses. So why would a nation who wants to do this want to sack nurses? Why? This government, in its previous life, built the Rate Hostel and was on course to building several others, and did build many health facilities to employ health sector personnel, including nurses. This government, in its previous life, tried to change the nurses' allowance into a very sustainable, loan system, because of their status as a tertiary institution, together with the teacher trainees. It was misunderstood in one instance because people deliberately put falsehood, and NPP is very good at that, propaganda or whatever you may want to call it, misinformation, disinformation. And the nurses bought into it, they kicked this government out. Today, in fact, and it's on record, you can check, the Minister of Health has come out to deny what the woman is saying. Yet she's still threatening to go on strike. Do you know why? Do you know why? Do you know why?
Tell me.
Do you know who her husband is?
Who?
Do you know who Mr. Ofori Ampafo is?
No.
Go to Botiano, English, Amanfo, and go and ask who the constituency chairman of the NPP is. I wish them a happy Valentine. It's past there, but I wish them a happy Valentine going forward. The political undertones. No, this is a.
By the way, they have made Richard Jackman the director of national security.
Oh, so then, thank you, Mr. President, and Ken Ofori-Atta, come back home. Ken Ofori-Atta, come back home. Look, Ghanaians should be worried. Look, do you know how much national service alone? Do you know how much national service alone has cost this nation in terms of the ghost names?
Are we discussing the mass withdrawal? Or
no, we are discussing it, but I'm just putting in context why it is very serious that we deal with. You see, there's a long queue. There's a long queue of criminals waiting to go through the judicial system. We have had a very tall list of scandals under President Akufo-Addo.
Yes.
And there's some wasted time, 8 years of wasted time of the judicial system with cases that have no merit. Look, take, for example, the current finance minister, who should be focused on getting us out of IMF and out of this dead dark hole that Ken Ofori-Atta has put us in. You want him to waste his time going to court back and forth? When indeed it is clear that there was nothing against him. In fact, but for the e-levy, he would not have been prosecuted. But for the fact that he opposed the e-levy, he would not have been prosecuted. Look at the timing of his prosecution. And it's 5 days after he spoke up against the e-levy. And the fact that he will resist it. And it is on record also. And I dare Ken Ofori-Atta to come and deny that he did not trigger the prosecution. Personally.
But I think we all agree that it was a wrong
prosecution.
No, so I'm giving you the fact why it should be removed.
We all agree.
In fact, there are many more of these wasteful persecutions that must be removed from our courts.
So if you don't want people, if you don't want waste of time, don't waste your own time on a matter that has been agreed on.
Do you know that there was a memo from the DDP? Huh?
I'm told by the Attorney General.
These prosecutions in the quote unquote, but actually persecutions should be stopped. Are you aware?
I'm told
and
by
that
the Attorney General.
Godfrey Dami was told by people responsible for these in his office not to do that. He took this in the document away, but he forgot that there was an email trail of same documents which has been made available. He asked for them. It's been made available. In fact, I think Godfrey Dami must be prosecuted. He must be prosecuted. You know why?
I've been thinking about it.
He must be prosecuted. It is about time. He should be put ahead of the list of people who should be prosecuted. Yes. Because you cannot use that office to persecute people and then come and even insist that your successor should come and continue the same nonsense. Ghanaians did not vote for NPP. Ghanaians voted massively to remove the NPP and put in John Mahama to change direction. About 90% of Ghanaians thought the country was in the wrong direction because of people like Godfrey Dami and Ken Ofori-Atta and all the whole chain of criminals that they had in government, including their surrogates in the pro-NPP media and the CSOs. And so if this government is going to be focused, President Mahama doesn't have 4 years to change this situation. Ghanaians don't have that long to tolerate this nonsense. And in any case, we must retrieve the monies that people have stolen. Not just money, the lands and everything that people have stolen. Then they come and throw in Oka as though the president is clearing people or the attorney general is clearing people. He's not clearing people. He's clearing his desk. The person who is Oka is Akufo-Addo. He is gone. He was clearing his thieves, who today will be prosecuted. And I can assure you, they will be prosecuted.
No,
Ghanaians need that prosecution to happen. We need the money that they have taken from.
But the prosecution should not be selective. That's all that we are saying.
It should be wholesale. It should be wholesale.
We don't want selective justice.
What do you mean by selective justice?
We are looking for people who have been accused of looting the state, whether they looted the state in previous administration or they looted the state in any other administration.
But
so what we are saying is that, look,
with respect, I think that the oral, no, this one, Doc.
Doc, are you trying to say that the oral always they should put some NDC people to make people?
Oh no, that's not. No.
So that's the oral was put together. Look, if you are looking at Ghana from 1992,
yes,
in 1992 to 1990, when did Kufuor come to power?
2000.
Yes.
NDC, you can say that some of the people misbehaved. From 2000 to 2008, you can admit that NPP, some of them misbehaved. Not so. 2008 to 2016, you can agree that some people misbehaved. I'm saying that at some point, there must be a decision to stop the wastage. I am happy that it has started now. I mean, I don't care whether we all
are saying the same thing.
No, but
yes,
no, but you're saying we should go back. I don't want us to go back.
No,
we should. That's what you said.
So whoever, no, but you have also, you at least you and I agree that not in all cases that there's no evidence about the withdrawal.
Because the truth is
no, actually you and I have problem with the mass withdrawal.
No, hold on. Yes, we have.
Yes, so that's exactly what I'm saying.
Not in all the cases.
It's not but I say mass withdrawal of, I mean,
some of the cases.
of
Persecutions.
Yeah.
Mass withdrawal of persecutions. You know the problem with that?
That's
If there are 1,000 persecutions, should some stay because you think that it's mass? All persecuted people should.
Okay, somebody is like, I'll come to you.
No. I don't suggest that some of the people have been
No, he's asking me questions.
You are saying that.
Are you asking me questions?
Okay, so there's a school of thought.
When I'm asking you a question, I will answer.
I'm not asking you. There's a school of thought. There's a school of thought that 1,000 people are being persecuted, or were in the process of being persecuted, and that some should be left. So somebody should be selected and decide who should be left.
Yeah.
So let's leave Gregory Foko in jail because he's this or that, or let's leave Atufosi because it's seen to be politically right. That kind of argument, I don't side at all. All who are being persecuted must go. If there are 1,000, and Akufo-Addo was very wicked. His hatchet man was Godfrey Dame, and he was persecuting people. All persecuted people should leave. In any case, there's a long queue of NPP criminals who must attend the courts.
Why are you describing them as criminals?
They are criminals.
Why are you passing
if you put a 91-year-old in national service on the payroll, if you put one name 223 times on this is 6 times on the national service payroll, if you put, I mean, come on, look.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, do.
When someone commits an offense,
yes, you are saying alleged.
It is only
you are the lawyer. I'm not. You are the lawyer. I'm not. I'm allowed to say.
But you know better.
Okay, fine. You know better. If that will help you, have the discussion. Then I will say, no, this one we have that there are 1 million Ghanaians out there of all partisan shades, including some who don't subscribe to any party, who are criminals. True. Who are criminals?
I mean, the court has not pronounced anybody.
Until he was pronounced and sentenced.
Yeah. Even when you see that somebody has killed somebody with a weapon, unless the court pronounces that that person is a criminal, you cannot see that.
Is there anything about the court you like?
Please.
No, never mind.
Today, no, this one. No, please, this one.
Like, it's already occurring.
Yeah. ECG.
Yes, you know ECG. Not
the audit.
So are there criminals?
Let's proceed.
No, the people who committed those crimes. What are they? So those who commit crimes, what are they?
Are they not who determines that they've committed crimes?
Just answer my question.
No,
common sense.
Have crimes been committed at ECG?
No, but
was there criminality in PDS?
No.
Was there MSL criminality?
You are alleging that a crime has occasioned.
So when there's an audit, audit shows that criminality has occurred.
Let me tell you something, please, with a very respect. Yes. You may have a very good fact.
Like you're a man. Like it's alleged you're a man. Okay.
Yes.
It's an allegation. It's not been proven.
But when you go to court,
it hasn't been proven.
When you go to court, when you go to court,
I can see feeling I know you're a man.
Yes.
Unless Amma says so, you are not.
No. I'm just trying to. No, we're trying to educate ourselves because the point is that
the lawyer has been terrible.
You can allege.
I'm alleging
that somebody, there's a popular case in evidence. I've forgotten the case where somebody fired a weapon.
Yes.
But the person who fired the weapon was not the one who was holding the weapon. Somebody actually fired the weapon from behind. But because the gentleman was the one holding the weapon, they said it was him who killed. So you can actually see that somebody is dead, that the person is holding the weapon. All indications point to the fact that this person committed the offense, right? But you must not leave any doubt that that is the person who, once there is any iota of doubt, the point I'm trying to make is that unless we go to court, somebody on the face of it may appear to have committed an offense.
On the face of it, Aisha one is not it's not the
it's not the
Galamsey.
The prosecution may not even look. You can have a very good case, but you may not have evidence to support your case.
I agree with you.
That's the point. I say I agree with you.
I agree with you.
Minority condemns job termination, but majority leader says government stands by decision. President J, do you stand by the decision that most of the people who were appointed either after the elections or after the elections must go home?
You see, there must be principles. We have different jurisdictions that practice differently, and we have adopted a hybrid of some. So if you look at the UK system, which we've adopted, and the US system that we've adopted and kind of merged, then it becomes a gray in that in one instance, Prime Minister goes, and the same day, replacement comes. In the US, in fact, before even the transition is over, people have packed, they have these boxes, these small boxes. You take your office, you carry your personal effects, you're gone. A new team comes. That is one situation. Is that what we want? But in this country, we have a transition law. In fact, there's an administrator who's supposed to be in charge of all government property, and unfortunately is under-resourced, so doesn't have the opportunity and the staff levels to index everything that the government has. So then Abronye and others play a role when there's a transition in season vehicles and all that. President Mahama has thought through and indicated that, no, let me put a team together. Let's, instead of chasing people, bring those information to one source. And then I'll put together a team that will look at it, review it, and then I'll pass it to the appropriate quarters as the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General has since received it and has sent it to a team that is going through, and there's a tall list of alleged criminals, who will be processed. Now, that is a better system, all right? Now, to those who are staying on, who may not have committed any crimes, and I'm not talking about just the late people, but those who, let me give you a typical example. Most NPP appointees had themselves personal assistants, deputy assistants, and no, seriously, they can appoint, where there was even just an MD and a deputy, they can appoint a deputy MD, assistant MD, and then, so they have about a string of them. Then each of them has personal assistants and so on. Now, you know what the payroll looks like today. Ghana, our GDP, okay? What percentage of that goes into emoluments?
70%. So,
assuming that you left them at post, will the new administration be even able to appoint anybody?
No.
And so, is President Akufo-Addo's people going to prosecute John Mahama's agenda? And mostly, we are talking about the partisan or politically exposed persons. We are not talking about the rest of the people, like nurses and other people who are needed in the system, which does not get affected by this directive. And note, the president, through the chief of staff, was even magnanimous. In the instance of the NPP, through the then senior minister or whatever, he made definite pronouncements about the people being sacked, and indeed did sack the people. In fact, in this instance, he even appointed his two sons to the most juicy positions in Ghana. So that's Snit, and then another at, where is it? I think NIO or something. No. Yeah, one of those places. This is a person who professes one thing and thinks that after appointing his two sons, the public sector is full, so nobody else should come in. In the case of President John Dramani Mahama, he's made similar but not the same set of things. And I wouldn't say with a human face, but he said post December 7th. Indeed, a lot of these people were pushed into the system even ahead of December 7th. In fact, in 2017, a similar thing also happened. He didn't say let's sack people who were put in the system in 2017 ahead of the 2017 election or just after. He didn't say let's remove those who were put in the system before the elections, because a lot of pardoning happened even before the elections. He said post. Because after you've left the elections, you've lost the elections, and the transition had started, there was a warning of sorts. And when I say a warning, I'll say warning because there was an alleged agreement between the two transition teams that there should be consultation prior to any appointment within that 1 month window of staying in government, whether you call it lame duck or whatever, until the government fully expires on January 7th. However, appointments were made. And so in this window, they're saying those ones, please, excuse us. Because the MPP side said they are still in government and they don't owe you any obligation, and that there was no agreement. Now I've come into power and I have a discretion to exercise, and I've exercised it. I don't see anything wrong with it. I, for example, when in 2016, and I think that is why I would say that there's no real right or wrong in this, except that some is to absurdity.
Right.
There was a court case that EDG led, which has brought to some extent some of these, shall I say, straw that the NPP is hanging on. It happened just around the time when we were leaving office, that 2016. And I was a beneficiary of that. I was then the deputy CEO of the Youth Enterprise Support at the Office of the President. And as a presidential staffer, my tenure of office ended with the president. However, my contract as deputy CEO ended on May 9th. So John Kuma, who was the, the
NEIP. He took over from you.
Yes, who became the deputy finance minister. Yeah. When he was taking over from us, had to have his, his appointment letter dated 9th May when our contract ended.
Yeah.
So the MPP do know that these situations can indeed arise and have in one instance acted accordingly. So why not this time around? And I think that it is just a strategy to frustrate the president and his appointment processes, just like our dear lady Ofori Ampofu is trying to do, and some people in CLOSAG are also trying to do with some appointments and so on. They are just trying to frustrate, just like the MPP in Parliament tried to frustrate his appointment of ministers and so on.
All right,
it won't wash.
Thank you, PDA. Let me read a few messages. I'll come to Dr. Marazuk shortly. Good morning to you, Lawyer KOD. Ghana needs to be reset, and the reset is in its positive progression. So Mr. Dami should stay quiet and allow the judiciary to be resettled well. Because the 8 years mess was in every corner and sector of their governance. Bibi from Accra sent in this one. Mr. Kent says, good morning to you, senior fellow. MPP cannot cry about military raids and raids after they employ party thugs with guns and military uniforms to attack the courts and people in Techiman, Boko, Edra, Ayawaso, etc. Recall the mass dismissals of 13,000 workers like Domolevo, Charlotte and new recruits in training. MV thugs invaded homes of John Janaporo, Roxanne Dafiamekpo, whose house was demolished. Reverend Owusu Bempa was arrested in church and chained to a hospital bed while on drip. Professor Mills's home was raided under Kufuor, not to mention the Proceed or Leave campaign against non-accounts and NDC officials in 2001. The court ruled against it, but MPP refused to respect the court. Why the double standard? Ken William sent in this one. Anthony Brace says, President Mahama promised to reset Ghana, and investigating corrupt activities is certainly part of the processes. I don't understand why people are complaining. They should rather praise President Mahama for his moves towards fighting corruption. Good morning to you, KOD. We are not praying that Ken Ofori-Atta dies, but even if it happens, we will bring his dead body for prosecution and pronounce judgment appropriately, inshallah. Stephen, somebody asked a question on WhatsApp. Dr. Marazuk, today I'm not happy with your submission. Do you think vultures will hold meat without eating it? Baba from Sagnarigo.
I'm happy about your disagreement because it's so humorous.
Good morning to you, HEKOD. Today, Dr. Marazuk is unable to hide his leanings to MPP.
Oh,
He should stop interjecting.
So, you see why I said the social media language should spare me. So
Good morning to you.
So when I was here attacking MPP.
Yeah, now you were not NDC.
Why not social media and Roberts?
Good morning to you and your panelists. This is Adam Kola, PR from Tamale Central. My brother, if the case is not relevant, they should leave it not to occupy space. Okay, all right. It says greetings to Tanko, Maida, and Chief Azoka. All right, thank you very much for your message. This was a security. Doc has surprised me. Has he forgotten that before started it, Atamos brushed it aside, leading to this mass? I suggest a special corruption and corruption-related court be set up quickly to deal with such issues.
The tribunals
are going to be set up. Okay. This one says, good morning to you, Kwame. If Bediato returns to Ghana, then we can be assured Ken will come back. Uncle Sam from Spintex Road. Okay, let me come to you, Dr. Marzouk, on this Master Special, and I'll end with Dr. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I respect the opinions of all those who have decided to disagree. But let them be reminded that I have always been here on the basis of consistency.
Yeah.
I do not understand why they do not attack me when I vehemently disagree with NPP.
Oh, but some people also attacked you when you disagreed with them.
With MP, no, I cannot recollect.
What's this on social media?
Not here. I can't recollect. When I attack the MPP, it doesn't happen.
Because you're saying the truth.
That's good.
I love your definition of truth.
That's good.
And I have made it clear that mine is consistency.
That's a good one.
Yes. Before you mentioned persecution, I had mentioned that, and I made it clear the difference between the thin line between persecution and prosecution. If Kwame, among all your panelists, I won't be last. Oh, I'm telling you, I won't be the last. In fact, I will be among the first three to be critical of the previous administration.
Right.
So when I call for fair play for everybody, please let it be. But let it be on record that we are not here as conveyor belts of any partisan propaganda.
Right.
We will continue to speak our minds. When you do right, we commend you. We reserve commendation for the right one and condemnation for the wrong one. So here, another. So today we are having a lot of areas of divergence rather than convergence, except the criminality. He says criminals, and then you were saying you were using the technical definition of criminals, and then I agree with him because we are using the commonsensical definition. Common sense, the person has shot. So you are talking about indications. What if you have caught the person in the act? Will that still be indication? Right. It will not be indication. But of course, we agree. We agree with you when you try as much as possible to speak to the issue based on your legal legal knowledge.
Right.
So we respect that. Now, termination of appointments. Once again, I do not agree. And I've mentioned, and I have listened to you, and you've mentioned all the instances of termination of appointments in the past regime. I agree, but some of us condemned it. Even when we didn't have the opportunity to condemn it, we still believe that we are running a nation. We still believe that destructive cycle of partisan vendetta should stop. So it should be part of our resetting agenda to ensure that vendetta is nipped in the bud. We should not allow such a thing to happen. The argument is that the appointments were done before the elections.
Right.
Appointments are not events. They are processes. You advertise. Or in the case of
some positions you replace. You may not advertise. People will have to apply. They come for interviews, you scrutinize them, and then you give them an appointment letter. So the date on the appointment letter does not indicate that the whole process started on that day. No, not at all. So I strongly believe, once again, that I said it last week, and I will maintain, in line with my principle of consistency, that the issue should have been dealt with in a very constructive and objective manner. How do we deal with it in that manner? Let's tackle it case by case. Of course, definitely, as we know, this political system, the political system that we operate in, definitely, they could be party loyalists. Definitely, I know. But my problem is, should somebody rightly recruited be punished simply because another person was wrongly recruited? I don't think that is fair. I strongly believe that case by case should have been handled so that those who were wrongly recruited will be terminated. And then we are entitled to the report. The Chief of Staff claims that they have done some investigation and they've established a lot of irregularities and then breaching of standards. Yes, we respect the Chief of Staff, but it is our responsibility to know. It should be part of the agenda setting of accountability, of transparency. He should share the report with us. So I'm advising all those who have been affected, again, to go to court, test this termination, and at the end of the day, if the court pronounces that yes, the termination is legal, is okay, then together we are all building a culture of law. But in a situation where the executive thinks that when it comes to power, or when each party comes to power, it can do whatever it wants to do, that should not be entertained. I strongly believe that it's not good to Ghanaians, and we should do everything possible to dismantle that negative partisanship.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mazuk. Let me come to you, Dr. Selfie.
Yes. KOD.
Yes, sir.
Before I make submission on this particular topic, I want to clear something that my colleague Doc made. You know, when I was making my initial submission, I made mention of economic losses of pursuing irrelevant cases.
Right, you said that. I remember you said that.
It's not about all cases. Yes, we are building a nation grounded on rule of law.
Yes.
But that nation which is being built on rule of law is also being run with scarce resources.
True.
So there should be a proper intercourse between the two processes. So where a case lacks merit, I strongly hold the view that it's really not necessary wasting resources in terms of time and finances and other logistical, resources on such cases. So let that one be clear. I wasn't trying to allude, to the fact that, because of economic losses, important cases not to be pursued. So let that one be clear.
I just want to ask a question. You are a lawyer. You know the number of cases that the courts can handle annually.
Yes.
On average, it will not be more than 200, 300, etc.
A lot of cases, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, to completion, that is. And so, if the oral cases alone were 2,000 plus and counting, how many years will it take the court system to deal with them?
Many years.
And we're looking at billions of dollars, which we need immediately, not tomorrow. Now, we need it now. Money that are in the custody of people who have kidney problems and may die. That's what they're telling us. They run to the US, they are replacing their kidneys so they can survive. What if they die? Some are actually vegetables and they not come back.
Let me proceed.
Should we wait for them to die with our billions of dollars?
Let that doc.
The tribunals are coming. The tribunals are coming.
Please let him. No, it will be unfair.
Finish. Let me finish. You come back.
Fast track, eh?
KOD, in 2017, I was a consultant for the World Bank. And my job on the side of the World Bank is to consult for the World Bank, helping or providing technical support to the implementation of important social protection programs.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to work with our current Chief of Staff in charge of administration, Honorable Nana Oye Bampo, if I've gotten the name right. Yes. At that time, she was the gender minister. Now, it was her time, a project or a program called Ghana National Household Registry started. At that time, I think it started a year or two before the NDC lost power. So NPP had to take over. At that time, I have a certain woman, she just sent me a message, a very knowledgeable woman who was trained even to work for NIA. But because of her technical competence was brought to the gender ministry to support the implementation of the GNHR. And she has not permitted me to mention her name, so I wouldn't want to mention her name. Maybe you know. Now, apart from her, there were other, personnel who were taken to other countries that have actually run such a program or a project before, were trained over there and were brought. These people had their employment, being done with confirmation by the World Bank. And they were even consultants, not government appointees. Now, when Honorable Otiku Jaba took office, there was a massive sack for no reason. And I am not saying they said. I was then a consultant to the World Bank. And my former boss, now in Washington, Suleiman Namara, was a Ugandan. And it became a serious banter between him and Honorable Otiku Jaba. But for diplomacy's sake, the man had to allow for these people to go. And that stalled the project for almost a year or two.
Very bad.
You understand? So when it comes to...
That was under precedent.
I'm coming, yes. So when it comes to termination of appointment, I agree with all the submissions, especially you, Doc. But on the flip side, or on the other side, let us also talk about the political connotation underlying this appointment that was made. I, in my humble opinion, feel like it was a trap to make Mahama suffer. Look, about 3 weeks ago, I made a publication on a statement or a projection made by the IMF in Business and Financial Times. I do that weekly. According to the IMF, government needs not less than 71.1 billion Ghana cedis to pay wages and salaries, other benefits and social benefits. Now, IMF just left the country some few days ago after they met our economic management team to make input in our budget for 2025, isn't it? One of the key issues that they discussed is about the wage bill. Yes, look, the appointments that were made, those that have been terminated from a reliable source after having some discussion with senior top, current government official, was on the ground that because NPP lost office in a rush, party full soldiers and faithfuls that have been promised job, and for whatever reason it was delayed, hoping that they would have won the 2024 elections and then they would have been brought in. Because of the fact that they were leaving office, they decided to recall it. Look, I don't want to mention it. Go to Bank of Ghana. A popular TV presenter, sister, has been put there at a very sensitive position.
Name the position.
It's about research. I don't want to give too much information. Look, the man is in to do research.
Do you want the rest of the details?
Yeah, I want.
Okay. The man is in to do resetting.
The reason why I'm interested in the Bank of Ghana thing is this deliberateness on the part of the NPP people to smear Dr. Siama.
Yes.
Because they know that he is the only one who can expose the shady deals that went on at Bank of Ghana. You printed money without prior approval. You went into gold for oil deals without proper consultation and without any financial benefit to the country. And you think that we will let you go? So I'm very interested in Bank of Ghana. I'm extremely interested, and that is why they started the smear campaign on Dr. Siama.
Yes,
After that, I will not agree.
And you see,
Bank of Ghana.
And you see, Your Excellency, it is not only Bank of Ghana. It is not only Bank of Ghana.
Doctor, so I'm sorry I'm truncating.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry
That's okay.
I don't do this because you are making very cogent arguments. But you see, it hurts me when we will go on such personal campaigns against individuals who have done nothing but to operate within the confines of not just the law but the regulations of do you understand what I'm saying? Dr. Mazouk, you lecture, you work within an established body which operates with regulations, rules and laws. So when the board takes a decision, because you, Dr. Mazouk, somebody hates you, they say, Dr. Mazouk, this why we are singling you out. This why you have to come and answer.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, it's a board decision.
For 8 years.
What kind of
board which is
absolutely.
And if you know how much it costs to hire the best of lawyers to defend you, he's a lawyer.
Oh, I do.
My brother, your guess is as good as mine.
So I'm not also trying to disrupt your flow. Sorry. You see, my argument has been consistent. It was bad yesterday. It is bad today. It will be bad tomorrow. So
I agree with you.
Exactly.
It's very, very
bad. Very bad. I agree with you.
On 2 foot.
Bad.
You understand? I started by making a case.
I really should not be bad.
Dr. Mazouk,
I really should not be bad.
I started by making a case that the ethical basis for actually letting people go just because a government has changed is wrong. But let us also look at the cause, the political connotation of such appointment. Look, as I speak to you now, I am telling you that President Mahama or this particular government cannot do anything when it comes to resetting if they don't clean up.
Yes. Do an audit.
Yes. Look,
And we are all for it.
I don't want to mention ministries. Some of them, they are highly political.
Mention the ministries. What ministries? Mention
local government.
Local government.
Okay. There is a project called Ghana Productive Safety Net Project.
Ghana Productive.
Yes.
It has become a political project.
No, it's actually one of the social protection programs, but because they deal with this small dams and what have you.
Yes.
You understand?
Another
Treatment and what have you. Gender ministry is there. Go to education. Go to. There are a lot of people that are there.
But you've learned the first side.
Okay, because
with the green berets.
Because
there's a man with the green berets. You've learned the
fine, that is fine. But because of where I am, the kind of work I do, I play with the ministries that I've mentioned. So for defense, I don't have much idea.
After getting some journalist meeting,
You see, but
you forgotten that one. You see that one.
boss,
And promoted.
the point of the matter is that for the resetting agenda to work, anybody who was dubiously recruited after the 2024 elections and President Mahama had been declared the winner and he was in waiting to take over as president of this country, I don't think this particular, termination was done out of the blue. I'm sure there was some deliberate analysis, especially when we are under the IMF, credit, whatever, program. You understand? So my point is that we cannot allow past government, outgoing government, for the fact that they are leaving, they try to recruit people dubiously into very strategic positions so that they can hold the incoming government at ransom. And I'm not speaking only for the just gone, government,
All successive governments.
all successive, successive government. That has become a culture, and we need to actually keep that. And KOD, this issue of secure jobs, of course, this is not directly in line with the discussion that we are having, but I think the Constitutional Review Committee have to take a critical look at it. The inefficiencies. Look, when we get to the electricity, I will show you some data that I pull from our side.
My time.
You understand? So I will yes.
Yeah, just bring it in.
Okay. So if you look at ECG, okay, comrade. If you look at ECG, no, that is what I'm trying to add.
Please, what is it?
If you look at
my time.
yes,
The rest of the time is
ECG. Maybe I'll forward it to you. But
forward it to me.
just for one point, my office, we did an analysis on operational inefficiencies and procurement irregularities.
ECG.
Yes.
Do you know how many containers they have?
Using data.
Hemorrhage.
Using data
My goodness.
from the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, the ECG itself, and other think tanks that work mainly on our energy sector. And if you look at the operational inefficiency, there are others, but I'm going to look at the technical, I'm lumping it together, technical and non-technical losses. That is combined losses from technical issue, example, equipment failures, and non-technical factors, example, theft, fraud. In 2022 alone, there was a total technical and non-technical losses accounted for approximately 25% of ECG's total distributed electricity. This equates to 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. That alone. Now, I've just picked one from the inefficiency. Let's look at the procurement. In terms of procurement, irregular procurement practices, non-compliance with the Public Procurement Act, including single source procurement without justification.
Yeah, because section 40.
You see,
40,
between,
I think section 41
yes,
A, B, C, D prescribes what processes you need to go through in order that you can single source.
Exactly.
Or sole source.
But wait, how do you procure things that will last 10 years?
Even when most of them will expire in 5 years. How does that make sense?
It doesn't make
yes,
sense.
all of them are here. So I will share with you. When I
Share them with me.
no, over here, unless I use it, unless I use computer to do that. Yeah, so I will share with you. Once I have your number, I'll send it via WhatsApp.
You have my number.
Yes, yes.
Good.
Between 2016, that is the latter part of 2016 to 2021. Okay, when it comes to this single or sole sourcing, multiple instances of non-competitive bidding processes leading to inflated costs and standard equipment acquisition alone resulted to about 1.5 billion losses. And we are in a rush to talk of what? Privatization.
The money is here.
We don't need the private sector.
We don't need the private sector to come and clean it up.
and clean it up.
We need money.
If you look at the electricity, a whole thing, the chain, we have what is called the generation, isn't it? Yes. Which is done by independent power producers and then all of you. I mean, all of that. Then we talk of transmission, mainly handled by GRIDCO and is it VRA? I stand to be corrected. Then we go to distribution, which is ECG. Now, for generation transmission, we have the private sector players. Ask yourself, with the private sector playing a part over there, how efficient have they been? That's number one. When you come to ECG, the inefficiencies and procurement lapses that we see over there doesn't need the private sector. We need to allow the laws and institutions to work.
Simplicity.
Is coming.
You understand? I will land here maybe in the next time I get the opportunity.
But I need a document.
Yes. I will share.
We will have. Look.
We'll share.
I'm going to design.
So I land here.
I'm going to design a program specifically dedicated to oral.
Thank you.
No, but
I'm going to do a show,
Yes.
and I'll be bringing industry players and experts in relation to matters which will be prosecuted before the courts. We do some of this analysis and the tribunal. So thank you very much, President. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Dr. Mazu, for your time. Let me say a big thank you to the viewers for your time this morning. I really greatly appreciate you. It's been an honor coming your way with today's edition of Good Morning Africa. Tomorrow we go again. But you see, Ghana is for all of us. If persons have committed an offense we must make sure they are hauled before competent courts so that the court will make pronouncements and possibly convict them. The tribunals, in the estimation of President Yegi, are also coming. So yes, clearly, there's a lot that will be happening going forward. And again, I said, I'm going to dedicate a time to specifically looking at, all of these things, the leakages in the ports, the leakages at ECG, the leakages in all the public sector, the state-owned enterprises and all the agencies, the parastatals and all of that. We're going to dedicate a program. We'll be highlighting some of the things. We'll be exposing some of the things on that particular show. So please,
the potential of oral to make us government without the imperialists.
Absolutely. I am happy. I am happy with the way President Mahama is conducting himself. In fact, he said that he is not in a hurry for any IMF extension. He wants to look inwardly to see whether we can, we can.
Okay, I'll call you.
Please, if we are able to retrieve all these monies, we don't need IMF. If oral alone can give us $20.something billion,
oral is a source of
Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. My name is Kwame Owusu-Danso. Do follow me on all social media platforms: Twitter Kwame Owusu-Danso, Facebook Kwame Owusu-Danso, Instagram Kwame Owusu-Danso. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye bye.